Messaging, template creation within LinkedIn. This is where we're starting to get to kind of the final stages of doing outreach. It's a big part of trying to reduce the amount of manual labor and manual repetitive actions that we often do. So, on a very regular basis, especially when I'm consulting or working with early stage startups, there is a huge need for outreach, engaging with people that don't know about your product, service, or solution. What ends up happening is I have to go over and explain what decision trees are. Decision trees are basically the progression of conversation as they go into different pathways or go into different branches of a conversation. So within the world of LinkedIn, first, no matter what, we have to send a connection request. Otherwise, we're burning up in-mails. And based on whether or not they accept that connection request or they do not accept that request, uh, then the conversation gets to start or it doesn't. Then we have the chance to follow up 3 different times and they can respond. If they don't respond, eventually we either leave them alone or we get flagged as spam or they block us. And then, based off of their response, whether it's positive, negative, or neutral, then we'll have different responses to that. If you start to think about conversations this way, it almost dumbs down the nature of kind of discourse and going back and forth, but it legitimately is that. I've mapped this out on so many different occasions for so many different things. This is a version of what you would see within Expandy as far as how a connection request and follow up prompt that's automated would work. Expandy is a great automation tool. And this is my own experience working with virtual assistants, trying to get people to understand first, we're getting the conversation, we're finding out whether or not they're a good fit for us. And then based on that, yes, we have certain next steps. If not, we need to go back and ask them more questions, or if they're not a fit, thank them for their time. That is decision trees. And a simpler version of a more distilled version is what I just explained. So we will send our connection request. Once the connection is accepted, we have 3 follow-ups. Any more than 3, and I think you're really bothering people. So that means that we have to build these really nice, versatile templates that have an introduction and some type of personalization, and then these follow-ups based off of either no response or a very limited response. After they accept that connection request, then we have different templates that we need to build. Now, I always try to build my templates based off of what things I've already encountered, real life scenarios. Why do we do this? Why I know that there's some people watching this, and I've certainly engaged with a lot of salespeople that I've worked with that are my direct clients or even my direct teammates, and they're like, "Why can't I just write everything out?" And it's like, okay, yes, of course you could do that. But because we're reaching a volume of many people, we need to take lots of shots in order to potentially meet with the right people that probably won't respond. So that means it's just a numbers game, and I don't want to rewrite everything. I've found myself at kind of odds with some mentality of like, well, yeah, but if you just reach the right person, then you wouldn't have to do all this. And it's like, well, if I had a job, then I wouldn't be taking this course. So ultimately, it is on you as to whether or not you're willing to take up the idea of building out these different templates in order to massively reduce the amount of repetitive stuff that you're going to send out to people. So this in blue here is what you will potentially be automating in the next step that we're going to go through. So it is the LinkedIn connection personalized intro, and then once they accept that connection, it's 3 follow-ups. Now, based off of their response, you could use additional tools to allow you to categorize what that response was. Was it positive, negative, or neutral? And then based off of that, decide how to respond out of all the different things that you have at your fingertips. Now, a lot of people really like to have control over this, and I totally get that. That would result in potentially having lots and lots of additional decision trees, and I'm not here to create that type of automation for you. I think that's a huge lift, and for the time being, a little maybe too advanced for what we're trying to do. So, from the standpoint of personalized outreach, I have given you so much in the way of resources and concepts where you could essentially understand, oh, well, I will use these merge fields, which are basically variables or they're replacement fields that you can plug in anything. So, the nature of that first outreach message could be as basic as, hi, insert first name. I'm super impressed by insert the name of their company, a little bit about you. I've been working in, insert the name of the industry that is related to them for the number of years that you've been working. I'm relocating to name of the city in the next few months. I would love to connect. That's it. Like super basic stuff. Now you can get really advanced, but you only have 300 characters for that first outreach message. After that, you can start getting all kinds of crazy. You have like 2,000 characters. So it is what it is. Before you go building your own templates, please see what other people have done. I've included a massive list of resources here. So this is my own outreach. So it's separated by types of outreach, and then you have different merge fields. I've always put the green as either the person we're reaching out to or our target, and then the yellow is related to us and our skill so that we know which merge fields we're able to replace or which ones we have to use some type of variable in order to throw in there. I will show you what I mean by that, but there's a lot of stuff in here, 20 pages of different templates. I hope that helps. If that doesn't help, there are lots of other ways for you to build your own outreach templates. We went through the manual outreach earlier in this course, and I think there's a ton of value in the prompt. You would just have to adjust the prompt, but I'm not going to spend um, 20 minutes rebuilding that. If there's interest inside of Discord, then I will. But in the meantime, no, definitely not. Lots of guides, lots of everything. Like, please just explore. Honestly, like, there's so much good stuff that I've taken hours to put together here. So don't just sit down and try to rewrite when you don't have to. See what's there. There's tons and tons of stuff there. So again, I already have built this for doing the AI tailored messaging. It would require you to adjust the major long prompt just a little bit in order to get these variable merge fields added without a specific caricature or person in mind. Or, like, hey, you can continue to really do some amazing personalization given if you're able to plug in enough of the persona into these templates. Long story short, let's just move on to the next course. Or the next part of the course. I want to make sure that we really cover how to set up the sequenced outreach and how to insert the templates into that sequenced outreach before people get too crazy on the templates. It's always a chicken and egg thing, but let's get into that next.